Okay, this is the participial phrase commas. Now, a participial phrase always begins with a word that ends in ing or ed. And because they always begin with a word that ends in ing or ed, they're pretty easy to identify. Now, the purpose of a participial phrase is to provide extra information at the beginning or the end of a sentence. So, if I was to look at these examples, running late, she missed the bus. Well, I can see a comma here. We put a comma after the participial phrase if it begins a sentence, and we put a comma before the participial phrase if it ends the sentence. All of these are grammatically correct. I just need to find where the participial phrase is. Running late ends in ing, comma, she missed the bus. Well, I'm going to circle that because that is the participial phrase. Now I'm going to draw an arrow to the information in the main sentence that this is giving. Running late. Well, who or what is running late? Well, she. That's all I have to do. Technically, if I took out this participial phrase and just had this section left, I should have a complete independent clause. She missed the bus. Yeah, that works. Technically, if I wanted to make sure it had a subject and a verb, missed would be our verb. Who or what missed? She would be our subject. She missed the bus, but running late, participial phrase provides extra information about she. Let's look at this one. Exhausted from the hike, comma, he collapsed on the couch. Well, I see a comma right here. Does this word end in ing or ed? Nope. Does this word end in ing or ed? Yes, ends in ed. So this must be the participial phrase. I'll circle it. Now, who or what was exhausted from the hike? Well, he was. He collapsed on the couch. That's a complete sentence. If I wanted to double check, I see that collapsed is a verb. And he would be the subject. He collapsed on the couch, period. But I have a participial phrase to give me more information. All right, I'm not going to find the subject and verb for these next ones because I just need, for this practice, I just need to find the participial phrase and draw an arrow to the information that the participial phrase is giving me. Covered in mud, the children ran inside the house. Does this end in ing or ed? Yes. Does this one? No. So that means this must be the participial phrase. Who or what was covered in mud? Well, the children. Sweet. They continued to tell jokes, comma, laughing hysterically. Does this end in ing or ed? Nope. Does this one? Laughing, yes, ing. So this must be a participial phrase at the end of a sentence. Now, who or what was laughing hysterically? Well, they were. So my arrow goes clear over there. They continued to tell jokes, comma, laughing hysterically. Or if I took this out, I should still have a complete sentence. They continued to tell jokes, period. Yep, that works. She opened her birthday present, brimming with excitement. She doesn't end in ing or ed. Opened her present, comma, brimming with excitement. Brimming ends in ing, so I'm going to circle that. Now, who or what was brimming with excitement? Well, she was. Awesome. Now, for these examples, I need to place the comma after the participial phrase or before the participial phrase. So hiding behind the curtains, the cat watched the birds. Well, I really just need to find a word that ends in ing or ed. I can see hiding behind the curtains, the cat watched the birds. Well, hiding ends in ing. So hiding behind the curtains, the cat watched the bird. Well, if I put a comma there, do I have a complete sentence after it? The cat watched the birds. Well, watched would be our verb, and cat would be our subject. And then I'm going to circle my participial phrase. Who or what was hiding behind the curtain? It was the cat. Worried about the test, I studied all night. Well, this word ends in ed. Now, where could I put the comma to separate it from the rest? Worried about the test. I studied all night. Well, this is a subject. What did that person do? What did I do? Well, I studied. That's the verb. So the extra information is going to come before that. So I could probably put a comma there. Worried about the test. I studied all night. And this would be the participial phrase. And then who or what was worried about the test? I was. Chasing after the bus, he tripped and fell. Ooh, there's two words that end in ing or ed. This one ends in ing. This one ends in ed. Chasing after the bus, he tripped and fell. Well, this begins the sentence. So this is probably the beginning of the participial phrase. Chasing after the bus, he tripped and fell. Well, if I was to look for the verb, this would be a verb, tripped. And then who or what tripped? Well, he did, so that would be a subject. So that means I could put a comma there. Say, this is my participial phrase. Now, who or what was chasing after the bus? He was. The students gathered their things preparing to leave. This ends in ed. This ends in ing. The students, comma, gathered their things preparing to leave. No, that doesn't make sense. The students gathered their things, comma, preparing to leave. Ooh, that kind of makes sense. If I put a comma there, said this was my participial phrase, could I remove this and the rest of the sentence still make sense? The students gathered their things, period. Yeah, it sounds like it works. Let me double check. This is a verb, gathered. Who or what gathered? Well, students. So that's the subject. And then who or what was preparing to leave? Also the students. You'll notice that the extra information is almost always given to the subject. In fact, I think it might always be given to the subject. They sat on the porch watching the sunset. Easy, this ends in ing. Let's put a comma there. Let's circle that guy as our participial phrase. Who or what was watching the sunset? They were. Which means that's probably the subject. What were they doing? They sat, which is a verb. Sweet. One more. I took a deep breath trying to calm myself. I took a deep breath, comma, trying to calm myself. I took a deep breath, period. Yeah, I took a deep breath. Okay. Comma, trying to calm myself, ends in ing. That's the participial phrase. Who or what was trying to calm themselves? I was. Which means I is the subject. What did I do? I took. Sweet. Now, I just want to share one more example, a non-example of a participial phrase. Running is my favorite activity. Now, you might be like Mr. Carter. A participial phrase begins with a word that ends in ing. Well, this begins the sentence and it ends in ing. Running is my favorite activity. Is there any place I could put a comma after running and have the rest of the sentence make sense? So if I put a comma here and got rid of running and said, is my favorite activity. Nope, that doesn't work. If I put a comma here and said, running is my favorite activity. If I got rid of this section, my favorite activity. There's a subject maybe, activity, but there's not a verb, so that doesn't work. What about here? Got rid of this first part, favorite activity. Nope, and then same thing, you can't just say activity and have that be a sentence. So simply, this is a sentence by itself. It doesn't need any commas because it's not a participial phrase. It doesn't have any extra information anywhere. And if I was to find the subject and verb for this sentence, I know that is one of those being verbs, so, and then what is running? So in this case, even though running sounds like the verb, is the verb, and the thing that is my favorite activity is running. So this would be a noun in this case.